Why, hello there. What's happening? How is it going, dude? Or dudette? Or, let's not get into that. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're having a good life. That you're figuring out some way to navigate this bizarre apocalypse feeling zone that we're in. Some of that might be watching Netflix and watching movies. But I would highly encourage you to not watch this movie, The Last Days of American Crime. Well, I guess depending on who you are and why you enjoy watching entertainment, if you really want to punish yourself while at the same time getting the lowdown on the full-on agenda, well, then you may actually want to watch it, because that's the thing about bad movies, bad productions, especially high-budget ones where they're towing the agenda line. They don't do a very good job at it. That's why it's not a good movie. But that results in a very clear and obvious display of the agenda and the things that they're hoping to do with us. The movie's all about how they can use electromagnetic radiation to control your thoughts. Crazy, right? Totally crazy, coming out of left field. What do you view? So yeah, we're gonna get into this movie. I got a bunch of screenshots for you. But if you're just tuning in for the first time, I just wanted to give you a taste of what this show is all about. We look for the strangeness that is just directly right in front of you, where you do not notice it maybe, but it's staring you right in the face. And as soon as we, at least for me, as soon as you start to recognize it and see it for what it is, then the spell is broken. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work on you, right? So I'm just gonna give you a quick example here. We're gonna do entertainment today, but I really just wanted to show this to you briefly. We look at the news here as well and look for strange symbols. And I don't know if you're a long-time Fake Truth listener, you may see already what I'm about to bring up here. But this is my RSS feed. This is just all mainstream media people, right? We got The Hill, we got CNN, we got RT just for flavor, CNN, The Independent, some British people as well, right? But it gives us a clear cross-section of what's actually not necessarily going on in the world, but what they want us to think and focus on. And what I'm seeing right away here, obviously very sad, and obviously very sad when people die, especially famous people, and we should mourn them. But I think it's important to realize the power that you can wield with that type of information, right? You instantly get an emotional response from people, and especially if they were large fans of this actor or this singer or this person, you're gonna have an outpouring of that type of emotion, right? That feeling for, well, I'm gonna miss that person, and etc., etc. But as with everything in this reality, they can take something genuine, something real, and Trojan horse it. They'll put some nefarious message into that emotional trigger. So the emotional trigger wakes you up, gets your heart, your blood flowing, and basically opens you wide up for the attack, the information, however that is going to be formed and created. And I'm just a big fan of number symbolism. I see the numbers talking to me, as crazy as that sounds, but I also seem to think that they also recognize this power of numbers, the power of numbers to subconsciously influence and suggest things to your mind. And this is how this whole shift is happening, right? We're already so far away from how everybody's mind worked at the beginning of this year, and now I'm telling you, I don't think we've seen nothing yet. But this is just, I'm gonna move past this. This is just a quick example for how this works, right? Okay, Lord of the Rings star, sadness, deep sadness over this guy's passing. How old was he? Oh, he was 88. 88, and right, one number is something, but having a repeating number just really gives you that power that makes it like, right, it wasn't an accident. There's an alignment there. I think it's hard to deny, even if you're not prone to conspiratorial, paranoid thinking like myself. When you see these two numbers together, there's a collision. There's a lining up of the spheres, and each number in and of itself has its own sort of deeper meaning and symbolism. And honestly, yeah, I think I should talk more about it. Bring up some of these older books, because if you read stuff like The Secret Teachings of All Ages, that Manly P. Hall stuff, the Blavatsky and all that like turn of the century mysticism stuff, they're just obsessed with these numbers. I remember reading like a good solid 20 pages where Albert Pike is just discussing the number 2 and all of its different symbolic meanings and uses and things that are tied up in there. And so I think that's what we try to do on this show, is encourage that thinking in others, because it really will help you understand this world and how it works. And I'm not going to lie and say it's going to make you happier. I think it might actually make you more depressed and negative to understand these things, but at least you will be based in reality, and you will be joining me in this state of misery, right? where you see the signs and the symbols and there's really nothing you can do about it. Long story short, right, this is obviously a very important story. This actor dying at this age of 88 brings to mind infinity for me, right? The 8 is really just an infinity symbol on its side, and to have that infinity lined up side by side together, there really is a lot of power in that number, and I think it seeds something in your mind. I can't even put it into words specifically, or really it would take a whole episode just to talk about this number, but that's not. But just notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times from different news sources listed, at least on the page that I can see and show you here. That's how important this news story is. And yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point. I just want you to think about why would it be so important to get this info out? And why that's trending in everything. Lord 88. The 88 is part of the trending aspect, right? Reality, person, probably dead, but we can't really be sure. This is the delivery. This is the delivery device, and this is the actual delivery, this number. And, well, I just think there's something there. It's working on you on a subconscious level. Okay, anyways, let's get into this. And it's not a show, it's a movie. And I think it's worth bringing up all that 88 nonsense, because this is the same thing that happens in these movies. Because, well, number symbolism is a whole other thing. We'll get into that in a second. But, right, you get ideas, you're really not sure. Oh, well, this kind of reminds me of something, but it's not exactly right. And it triggers the subconscious in certain ways. And sure, maybe at the beginning of the century when they were just starting this out, it was hit or miss. They were experimenting. Oh, maybe we should put this image in there. But now at this point, especially with these major studios, they've produced thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of episodes and movies, and ran them by focus groups and had people check them out. They just know how these things work on people. It's a science. There's definitely the art aspect to it, but if they want a message delivered, if they want something understood, if they want something to go on a subconscious level, they just know how to write that script to have it hit you right. So what's happening in this movie? Let's I guess first they get that out of the way. You start out, yeah, it starts off with that news reporter guy, this lady saying, okay, well, this is the deal, basically. And I don't even want to, I want to keep talking about this subject, but I'm going to use a code through music to show you what I'm talking about, right? So there's a technology. You don't need to understand music theory to understand this little trick I'm going to do. Okay, right? Here is the letter, this note that I'm playing right now. That's a G, right? You just sort of have to take my word for it if you don't have perfect pitch. There's a G. And then I'm going to play this number of notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? If I do this, That's our new code, right? For the technology that is currently being deployed all over the world, right? So I think this, there's no way to not compare these things directly in your mind, right? I think everybody that's going to watch this movie is going to be fully aware of the controversy swirling around this new technology, and maybe have heard some stories from, oh, well, they probably burned something down here, and there's some crazy people on the internet saying that is maybe bad and can do stuff like this, like control your brainwaves and maybe make you murder somebody or make you not murder somebody. And that's basically the whole premise of this movie. They're going to flip the switch. The network has been deployed, the infrastructure is prepared, and they're ready to flip that switch, which will completely cut out crime. It'll make it so people cannot do things that they don't think are good, right? And I mean, that's the spoiler alert. Later, somebody finds out a way around it by not caring about anything, being a total nihilist, and then, then you can trick the system because you don't actually care about doing bad stuff, killing people, and all that. So, but it just calls into question all of this moralizing and what's happening with this world, right? It's because that's what's happening out there in this reality. It's sort of coming apart at the seams. Just everything is very wiggly on a personal level, all the way up to the state level. Things are just not very certain anymore. And I'm getting sidetracked in my mind here because, right, we see these hexagons. That's another just sort of symbolic language. And no surprise to me to see these hexagons in the news report of this. It's fake news report of this of this movie, right? So at the beginning, they're like all freaked out, right? It's before they turn on the signal. The signal is going to stop crime. But meanwhile, right, everything is just complete chaos. The society is devolved past hope. There's no repairing it. And this is a core story element to our reality now. This is what's going to drive us over the edge, away from all of our governments and a whole scale restructuring of how human civilization works in this world. We're being told day in, day out, minute by minute, that our culture is broken. There's no way to solve these systemic issues, at least in the current system. We haven't been offered really any alternatives quite yet, because I think they still need to stoke the anger, the fear, the frustration with the current system a little more, right? People are getting frustrated, but they're not frustrated enough to just completely throw it away. So I think we're still working towards that, right? But some solution will be presented to us sooner or later, and it will be probably something like this. It's hard to say. Right, but it's all about America. They never really talk about the rest of the world. They talk about getting out to Canada. You got to get out to Canada. That's going to be your only hope. And right, we've seen this in Handmaid's Tale, seen this in a lot of different things, that they're building this wall around America, but it's actually going to be to keep people in while they're suffering, and people will be fleeing for amnesty for other countries, right? And this is, again, it's sort of just a reversal for what most people have been taught their entire lives, that America's the good guys, they're the powerful guys, they're never going to go down. It's the empire to be with, right? USA forever. But it's been for many years now at this point. They're trying to make you hate everything that you have. Every aspect of your life you are supposed to hate now and reject. And that's what's going to get us to this point, right? And I think just having this as the plot of the movie makes that very, very obvious to me, that this is somewhere in the cards, right? They're obviously, and here's the date right here, 2025. They are obviously being a little silly, right? I don't think something directly like this would happen directly. You got to think a little more symbolically, metaphorically, right? But it makes you wonder, what if that really is an aspect of? Maybe it is. Maybe it is an aspect. Wait, and I just heard some crackling. Are we good? It seems like we're good with the audio. We're good for now. Okay. And I also think, right, everything is symbolistic symbolism. This act, this idea, they call it the American Peace Initiative, which right? Always this sort of double speak. Yeah, it has a weird sound to it, but the acronym is API, which is if you've ever been involved in computer programming and that kind of stuff, well, then you'll know that API is well, I'm blanking on the actual what does API stand for in real life, but it's basically like a software library, right? If you add an API to your program, all of a sudden you have like realistic physics, and then that's how a lot of programs get made. They take different APIs from different developers and sort of cobble them together, and then you have your program, and then you don't have to make an entire physics program from scratch. You can just use somebody else's API, and that's sort of how that works. But right, and that was my constant question while I was watching this. How is that related to, and what's going on there? That is my question to you. Right? So, okay, so they're developing this, and this dude is outside, right? Here's our main hero here. He's really just a super low energy actor. It's almost the most confusing part of this movie is why they put him in the lead role, because and I'm sorry for the gratuitous nudity that is being shown here, right? You're shown these scenes that this is what, right? If we just let America go crazy, this is what would happen. There would be girls on the roof, and then these sketchy guys, just right. It's all this like horrible vice and greed, and then right, you look at these images and you're like, well, obviously this is bad. We can't be doing it like this, but and it's such a bad movie, right? It's so like ham-handed that it's so obvious what they're trying to get you to think. Oh, well, yeah, obviously you should hate America and women being objectified and strippers and all that. That's obviously like next level bad. You got to get rid of any sort of like feminine display of beauty. That is not good. It's not good. None of this is good, right? There's guys driving by. There's guys looting the stores. It's just general complete pandemonium is the scene that we see here at the beginning, right? And they're explaining this whole thing. The act of this synaptic blocker makes it impossible for anyone to perform an act they know to be unlawful, right? And so it is that moral question, right, in the back of your mind, which I think a lot of people in the truth community are struggling, right? What is it to be honest in an age where you are being censored actively and also just highly encouraged to self-censor? What are these thoughts, and what power do they have? And well, yeah, I just think more and more that's the whole game. That's everything. Your consciousness, your thoughts, and right. It's not whether you're actually doing something unlawful. It's whether you know that it's unlawful. Are you actively doing something that you don't think is good? If yes, then burn it to the ground, right? To destroy the culture, because, well, that's a broken culture. If you're able to be right doing things that you know hurt other people and just being okay with that, and there is a lot of that going on in this world, right? But that's the bait and switch that we're being given day in, day out. Our culture, everything is pretty messed up. It's messy. But there's also seems to be an active pursuit to tear it down, to break it. And this movie is just another a piece in that gigantic war that is being fought inside your brain these days. And well, I picked this frame. I just thought this was really interesting. This is actually an optometrist in the city. I guess they're in Atlanta or something, but there's a Truth Stream Media video. I should have pulled that up about a very, very bizarre and sort of hidden secret society that has been whispered about for a long time. And I think they're called the optometrists, or something to do with the eye and the capturing of light. And really, that's sort of the basis for all of this deception. It's in a lot of the symbolism. Enter the Stars was just talking about the wall and that sort of prism effect. All of this, the only way this is all possible is the bending of the light, the changing of the image that we're seeing, right? Putting it through a lens that they see fit, that they see proper and good. And I just found that very interesting as well, to see that symbol popping up here as well. It's just a very brief second. Look how bored this guy looks like. I don't, he was just not a good actor in this movie. And we see it, right? It's just all these scenes of suffering. Oh, we got the bread lines. There's starvation, right? Hint, hint. I'm sure this isn't coming later, right? Bread lines and insane amounts of homeless. I keep seeing that over and over again. The protests, the water jets. A lot of these symbols are already happening right now. At this very minute, in this very day. We're not going to have to wait to 2025, right? It's already happening right now, but I guess that's the question. How predictive is this, and how much is it just sort of to reinforce what's already going on and feel like that's good and right and proper? And it's lines like this, that's why I took this one as well. In the face of it, most people just lay down and give up, right? And in the movie, I guess the message is a little more, it's also half-assed. The message is a little more, well, we got to fight against this. We got to figure out ways to do crime still. You can't just lay down and give up. But on a subconscious level, right, you see that or you hear that, and I think it encourages you to back down in the face of authority, right? You see the scary water cannons. Look at that scary truck with the scary windows. Like it's from the future. Well, I mean, I guess it's 2025, but it still looks scary, right? It's not. When you see that on a subconscious level, I think it encourages you to stay at home when there's big protests and you hear about water cannons and other scary stuff, right? And it's not just this one movie. It's not just this one message. It's the mountainous, continual pressure on your mind that gets you to change your behavior permanently. Gets the entire culture to change its behavior. But it's that slow drip, one by one, that really that makes it happen. And so that's why I think it's worth looking at these little crystals, because it's an implication. It shows you what's going on the broader scheme. And if we can tear this one apart, you will see the other ones for what they are much quicker. At least that's the hope here. Others will still try anything to get anything out of this shit town. Freedom so close, just across the bridge to Canada. And I think this frame, like, pretty much, like, frames up his acting. This is what he's doing the entire movie, just kind of looking super serious. His hair is kind of messed up, and the pacing is just ludicrous, right? I guess this is a still frame, but I could really just, like, let it play. This is what the movie's like. And it sounds like my audio's fucked up. It sounds like my audio's fucked up. I'm gonna restart the audio. Cause the crackle. It's too crackle. It's got the crackle. Okay, I'll be. All right, are we back? What's up? Sorry about that. Very sorry about the delay. If you're interested in my technical difficulties, really quick, the main problem I'm having here is that for all of my audio needs, for the mic as well as the keys, all the other sort of crazy sounds that I have here hidden, I'm relying on a Hackintosh. It's a PC that I installed a Mac operating system onto, and it works very well for a lot of things, but glitchy nonetheless. And Well, I guess I need to spend a lot more money to make this more robust, but that's just not where we're at here. We're still just here doing this podcast, talking about the last days of American crime. No, I don't think we missed anything here, right? It's just more of this protesting. They're protesting. They say we got to go to Canada. People are getting shot as they go to Canada, right? We're seeing this police brutality. Very interesting to me, right? You try to get away and we're just going to shoot you in the street like a dog before they ever see the red and white flag, right? And this border, all of these like images of borders and getting shot and the authority clamping down, right? It's all in the news. It's really actually happening. But I see movies like this as a core component to right, creating this whole thing. Why do you feel the way you feel right now at this very second? What is it? It has to do with your life and the things you're going through? But if you're like the average American, right? You're gonna be sucking down this content. You're gonna be watching the news. You're gonna be watching Netflix. You're gonna be seeing all this stuff, and all of that gets mixed into your emotional state. And depending on your output with this media, how seriously you're taking it, how actively you're watching it, it may be everything, right? You may not have a family. This may be your main emotional support. In which case, well, yeah, it's pretty rough then, right? They got you by the balls. They got you right where they want you, because they will be able to mold your mind in any shape they see fit, and you won't recognize that it's happening, basically. Unless you get a little more conscious, right, about what's going on. Okay, they're robbing the banks. Interesting that they got this white mask, right? We're dealing with masks so much right now, and obviously when you're robbing a bank, you're going to need a mask. But I just found it, right, this movie is so popular right now. It was made a little while ago, but just very interesting to have this scene. They go in to rob a bank. This is all before the signal's been turned on. And it's just kind of awkward, lame. So many of these things are just trash, but... right, they put the symbol in here. I guess it's the end of crime. Everything's gonna get changed in a couple days. Who cares if they see their faces, right? But somebody does care if this mask symbol is in there. If that mask is actively there with you in your mind, constantly. And I've seen many just iterations, new and old, of mask symbolism that right. It was right there the whole time. And it continues to be right there, and I feel a little silly for not seeing it sooner. But that's the nature of this symbolism. It is very backwards, forwards, hard to tell what they're trying to tell you, but they are constantly trying to tell you something. Okay, so here's another sequence. I guess this is after they rob the bank, and this text I just found fascinating. The woman says, "The government was learning, tuning their little box of horrors, playing Jesus with people's brains. And we were all their guinea pigs." Right? That sort of sounds like something I might say. Because that's legit what's going on, right? They're collecting that data. They're learning. They're constantly learning, right? Every time they do one of these psyops, they're collecting all the data, seeing what works, what didn't work, and they're fine-tuning it for the next run. That's why they have to do all of these sort of trial runs, right? I think this whole first health-related thing that just happened was a trial run in the end. It's all just data collection. They're learning how we work, how to react to certain situations, and they're sort of upping the ante every time. Their little box of horrors. That's what we're talking about today, right? They have all this capability, all of this knowledge that, frankly, you do not have. I don't care who you are, listener. You do not have this level of understanding of the human psyche and how large sets of humans work, how they interact, and how the changes happen in human culture. They know these things. They've been studying and collecting this data as long back as data collection goes, right? Mostly to the Vietnam sort of era and all of that. But, right, that was the 70s, bro. That's 50 years ago now at this point. That is a serious long time to be collecting data, especially with the military industrial complex at that level, right? For those 50 years, those trillions and trillions of dollars that they had to spend on it. What do you think they're spending on it? All right. I mean, I guess they spend it on fighter jets and blowing people up and a little bit of that. But I think a lot more of it goes into this type of stuff. Studying you. How do you work? What happens when we piss you off? What happens when we take your food away? What happens when we put somebody in the government that you don't like? What happens when we put somebody in the government that we told you not to like? Will you not like them? Oh, damn, that works super good. All right, let's go to the next one, right? Just like a scientist. I mean, and all I can think every time is like, well, I mean, if I was in the same situation, I would probably do the same stuff. And I find it right, they're always being so anti-religion. I find it very interesting that they use this word, right? Playing Jesus. They didn't say playing God. That's more the phrase is playing God, but they use this phrase playing Jesus. Because again, I guess that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to replace that Messiah with themselves. They are the Messiah themselves. Not just God. I mean, they're God as well, but they're also Jesus. And that's, I just thought that was interesting. Combined with that phrase of guinea pigs, right? I guess you can get a little carried away with the symbolism, right? How does Jesus relate to guinea pigs? But in the end, I don't think it's wasted time. I don't think it's wasted energy to try to untangle this mess away from yourself. Okay, so this goes on the whole movie. They're basically counting down, the signal's going to get turned on here. Signal's going to get turned on here. And I wonder what is that actually how it's going to go on when they really get that technology going? Will there be this big countdown and then celebration, or is there going to be riots? Is there going to be great division? Right? Are we going to see demonstrations the same way that we've been seeing demonstrations now? Right? Is it going to be amplified and encouraged the way this movie is doing it? Or is it going to be subverted and switched out, right? The same way the protests happening now, all of that energy was basically created through the lockdown and the loss of all money and civil liberties. And then it was bait and switched with the race thing, right? But they use that energy. It's like a redirection. But that's what all of this science is for, right? How do you redirect the energy of a crowd of millions of people? Well, you'd say, impossible. But it's more than possible. It's very possible. It's being done right now. Okay, so they're turning on the signal, right? And this is constantly this. It's basically CNN here. ZRS. I like that. And it's again, over and over again, the same discussion, the same idea. Oh, well, it's all screwed up and there's nothing, we got to do this technocracy thing. We really can't leave people to their own devices. They can't be trusted. Even if you give them food and a good life, they're just going to get on the streets and riot and kill each other. Fights erupting all day, right? Between pro-API nationalists and protesters. And it's just, I don't know, it's also amusing to me. They're using the same language, like, right? These are two sides of an issue, theoretical issue, hypothetical science fiction film, right? But they still do the same thing where the bad guys that you don't like, those are nationalists, those are right-wing terrorists. And, well, the protesters, those are just protesters. Those are regular dudes. But those are like evil white nationalists, right? Nationalists is always, it associates in your mind with white. That's why I just did that. What's up, Kim? Good to see you. Good to see you. Somebody is out there. Yeah, I'm sorry you sat through this because, I regret the but then again, right? Sometimes you got to suffer through to get the knowledge. That's sort of what I'm all about. So they come up with this plan, right? Canada is over here off the map, and they're going to find a plan to get. They found out where the, API towers are, and they're going to find a sweet spot in between. Somehow, I guess this bank or whatever they're stealing something from. They found a blank spot in between the signal, basically, and they're going to use that to do their crimes. And that's the interesting thing about this movie, right? You're following these characters around, this dude and this other sort of like fiendy cokehead monster guy. Here he is, right? Just obviously not very likable ugly face doing mean and bad things, but also they're sort of well, they're the protagonists of this movie. They're who you're constantly looking at this whole time. But right from the beginning to the end of the movie, you're like, these are not good people. I don't like them. They're not sympathetic. He's got an ugly gold chain and he talks like a crazy annoying person, right? Every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, right, just look at him. Annoying face. The thing is, right, and he's coming up with this scheme, but you're supposed to, I can feel it when you're watching this movie. You're not supposed to like these guys. You're supposed to think, well, that's dumb. You should just submit. Obviously, you can't fight this thing. It's going straight into your brainstem, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So why even try to fight it, right? And I guess, spoiler, in the end, they don't figure it out. They get murdered. So they come up with this plan, though. Anyways, they're gonna rob the bank or steal something, right? And this is. It's all just so, right? I think it's why this is hard to discuss, why it's hard to talk about, and even sort of get people interested in. When it's like, well, it's just movies. Like, shut up and just enjoy your movie. Don't be a downer, you know. But at the same time, it's like the key to everything. I see that more and more. This is really where all of the marbles are. Sure, you can watch the news. You can see what's going on in the news, sure. But here they're just going to lay it right out for you, right? And all of this symbolic stuff. I'm going to turn that chat off for a second so we can see the subtitles. The cops, they're turning in all their weapons when this happens. And what is in the news right now? What is this whole discussion about defund the police and on a huge problem that we're having with authority in general? That it needs to get recreated. We do not trust them. We do not appreciate them. They don't appreciate us. They don't, understand our rights and all this kind of stuff, right? But the connection is still there. I think on a subconscious level, they have to know these things. And that's why it really drives me to that conspiratorial thinking that really they have to plan this all out so far in advance, because otherwise, how could they line up all this symbolism, right? How could they know that the defunding of the police narrative was going to happen this year, right when this movie is dropping? And it's going to be a key plot point in the movie that the cops are becoming invalidated, basically. I mean, that is the core concept of this movie, that policing doesn't work anymore. People are just out in the streets doing lap dances and gambling and shooting each other, right? There's no hope. There's no hope of fixing this. Yeah. Total coincidence. It's just a total coincidence, right? The emotional state lines up to the hair trigger. And how long has this debate been going on? It's just been going on for a couple weeks. And it just so happens to line up with this release of this movie. So, yeah. It could be a coincidence. That is also the nature of our reality. It bends towards itself and things become reinforcing. And I've personally just seen some very high strangeness come about, especially when I'm trying to do stuff like this show that is going against the narrative, right? I have to admit, I spent like a good hour before just trying to fix OBS, trying to fix my stream. It was not working, crashing constantly. Who knows why? Could have been the system update. Could have been something else. Well, and all of this, right? And so I just really like this line too, right? Because that's really what we're talking about with the control, not the controlling, but the policing, the management of this, unruly human species that we have here. It's gone this way with almost everything else, where things have gotten consolidated and moved to, right, like he says here, by one fat middle-aged bureaucrat that is just going to be pressing the button and deciding your fate that way, that you're not going to need people out on the street anymore policing everything. You're just it's going to be the system itself. And this is the grand dream of the technocracy. And right, and that's this backwards and forwardsness of our of the whole thing that we're dealing with these days. That's why it's so hard to get to the truth and even talk about it. That here's a movie, right? basically in the movie they're saying this is happening, it's also super bad and scary, and we got to fight against it, right? Get to Canada, or at least do a couple crimes while you still can. But the end effect, right, with all of this, having these characters be so unsympathetic and ugly and gross, that you end up agreeing with, right, what seems to be the actual plan of this technocracy, and locking it all down, and stopping crimes through technology and all that kind of stuff. You come out at the end, that is, if you weren't, didn't have any brain armor already in the first place, you come out at the end thinking, well, damn, we really need this. We need that. We need the API. We need we need that technology to come and save us, because it's not working now. It's just not working now. It's not working now. And this fixed all these other problems, like, I don't know, Google and spreadsheets and Uber and everything. It's much better to have technology policing us, because then it becomes the self-policing fear state that you're in constantly, and you end up self-censoring, self not criming, right? And I have no doubt that it's coming, honestly. I don't think there's literally anything we could do to slow down or stop it in any way. We're going to be policed by an app, and things are going to be logged constantly. And in certain sectors, it's already a fact, right? I was just talking to somebody that drives a truck, right? If you drive a big truck, they're fully not just hooked into your GPS, they're hooked into like all of your data, right? How long you've stopped and how much weight you're carrying, and just, right, the full-on list of how far you drove, where did you drive to, how long your break was, and all that stuff, right? Because they have to follow certain guidelines. But for certain sectors of society, this is already full-on normal, right? That you are consistently being tracked and then also punished or rewarded for following said rules. At this point in time, they are already tracking all of us. They know all this data, but it is still sort of kept in the shadows. You aren't actively punished or rewarded, at least not visibly at this point, right? It's all sort of done more in the shadows, but we haven't gotten to that point yet where you do actually have your social credit score. You know exactly what your grade is, basically, and what happens when you get punished and step out of the line. That's still coming down the pike, I think, for the main culture. But that's how this all gets okayed in the end, right? You introduce it in certain areas, right, like shipping or trucking, and get people used to being followed and watched constantly, incessantly, being judged and graded and punished for stepping out of line. And it's just only a matter of time before this all comes for us. Here, just more images of the future, right? This is our, I guess, female protagonist lady. She's having to fight through these homeless people. They're just being annoying and looking for food. And so many images of this I've seen in the movies recently, where, right, there's just a horde of people outside starving, standing around broken buses and just looking for a handout, right? There's nothing left for them. No work, no nothing. And this am I going to be able to pull up this frame? Having an annoying frame saying go on. So one of the most interesting parts of this movie is the portrayal of the FBI, that famous government organization where whenever that name comes up, you have to just know that they were involved in the production. There's no way they're going to greenlight an FBI character without the FBI, right? If not looking over the script or final product and giving veto power, will be directly involved with the production and guiding it in certain ways, right? So that it all starts to make a little bit more sense. The images, the ideas that are in this movie, right? Because there's the FBI. Well, they're looking pretty badass, and they play the same game with their character as well, right? This guy is not nice. He's not a super good actor, at least in this movie, and just is in general just like kind of a dick face. But in the end, on a weird, like, reversed psychological level, you end up agreeing with his opinions and ideas. And I think that's the most effective way of seeding an idea, to it's that counterculture concept. Works for a lot of things, right? Where you introduce something like cannabis, and it's evil first, it's bad, it's dangerous. Oh, and only the cool kids are doing it, but they're also dumb, right? And they're gonna reefer madness and all that kind of stuff. And right, that's how you introduce something that you want global adoption for. You got to make it hip and cool first, and then give it time, let it cook, let it simmer, and then, oh, well, I guess it's legalized all over the place, and everybody's just couch locked and spaced out, and not even getting the benefits of, I think, what the plant actually can do. That's a whole other subject we don't need to get into right now. But here it is. This is typical of any sort of FBI portrayal. He is threatening her that he's going to be able to find them, right? We're the motherfucking FBI. We can do all kinds of that shit. And I mean, that's literally how he talks in this movie. And they can, right? They're saying they can get through the signal. They can do even crazier shit than they're above this signal, right? And the threatening, we'll find you, we'll get you, we're gonna get through the fucking signal, right? But it's the FBI. He's talking like some common thug in a way. But that's just, yeah, also interesting. FBI threatening the main person. And there's just a lot of like, right, you realize how far things have come, because there's a lot of this like sexual portrayal of the female antagonist. In her first scene, she does like a, you know, like has sex with the main guy in the bathroom, basically. And it's just kind of gross. And there is a lot of sexuality, a lot of violence, a lot of like gratuitous things in this movie, but just the way they set it up. And I don't know, that's the part I'm still wondering about, if it was done on purpose because it is so bad. Maybe they didn't know what they were doing, but it almost reinforces the thing they're trying to reinforce even better, right? When you see this sort of lewd, gross display of sexuality here, right? And she's in the red light, and the blue light in the background, right? The colors are all over this movie as well, obviously. But it's this weird BDSM stuff. You got some like mannequins. It's all very just like, ew, right? Especially if you're just a mainstream regular person. And right, just like the state, just like everything that we're living with, that used to be part of our culture, right? Sexual attraction to the opposite sex. It's being demonized. It is being made, you're constantly being shown the horrible side of things. That may actually be some sort of multi-edged sword, not even double, triple-edged sword. Human sexuality is a trip, right? There's good and bad parts to that. There's been a lot of suffering that it's occurred through it. There's been a lot of great times that people have had being sexually active with each other. But what's happening with this image and in this movie is, right, a wholesale, nah, it doesn't matter. Okay, maybe there was good parts of that, but there's so much bad that we're going to throw the whole thing out. We got to get rid of this whole sex thing. It just causes too many problems. We gotta let it go. We're going to get into a new century, and you're going to see, you're not even going to miss it. And that's just how they move this whole thing forward, right? Until we just really don't recognize ourselves anymore. And ooh, it's dark shit. Okay, we got to keep moving. There's a lot of frames in this movie. Some of these frames might be not proper. Like, or right, I was taking a lot of screenshots in the movie. We do see the blue. There's a lot of blue and red interplay in this movie that I was able to notice. And just the ham-fistery continues. I don't know if there's a word for this when they mention in the movie that it's a movie. It gets you all metified. And again, usually it's done a little bit better. It has a little more zing to it, but they just drop it in here like, well, that's right, you watch too many fucking movies. The whole movie really feels like it's from the 80s or 90s from style, right? And I guess the director was of Taken, or what's that other movie? Taken 2 and 3. So it has that sort of older crime movie feel, but it's you know, right, slathered in all this brand new mind-changing sort of opinion forming about all this stuff, the G's and all that kind of stuff, right? And just, that's why we maybe should skip ahead, because that's what happens. It's like, okay, there's a whole other scene here. They talk about guns. They sort of shoot each other and swear. And it's all like sort of self-reinforcing. I guess that's the point that I keep bringing up here, right? Come on, guys, the guns. Because there's so many just scenes they're just waving around the guns and sort of pointing them at each other, shooting people, killing people for no reason. And right, it's the same argument. They really want to get rid of those guns. They want to tell you, oh, it's not good to have guns. It's too dangerous. It's bad. And also killing people. It's all of it's bad, right? Guns, sex, all of this stuff. It's like there's just too much bad parts of it. And that's I guess I need to find out a less long-winded way of saying this, right? But in this movie, constantly, you see the guns, people are getting shot. They're using the guns. The guns are shown as, like, cool. They give him good shots where he's holding a gun cool. There's a whole long scene where he's just, like, showing off to the mirror, showing off his gun stance or whatever. They pump the movie full of that imagery. But again, in the end, it's like, it's tacky. And that's what you're thinking the whole time. Like, yeah, dude, we totally get it. Like, you got sick guns and you're going to shoot some people. But, like, also, do you really need those guns? Right? They show you the thing and glorify it that they don't want you to do anymore. In this case, the guns. On the other hand, they will show you the thing and demonize it, make it bad. And slowly that thing will seed into the culture and become dominant, right? It's the law of reversals. The more I study this stuff, the more you see why they do that, why that principle is so important to a lot of these philosophies, that law of reversal, because they're getting all this shit done with it. It's so powerful. I feel like this was a different movie. This might be... This looks like a different movie. Was this like Pacific Rim or something? See, I'm getting turned around. Is this a different movie? Because there's no like aliens in this movie. I think this was a different movie. Anyways, a lot of this just kind of continues, right? They're fighting over the API, so your guest's been red flagged for prior history. It is a lot of this just information portrayal of systems where you will be judged, where you will be punished for your prior history, your behavior, the issues there. Those are the issues. And as with all this stuff, all this symbolism, all these ideas, that's why this movie was so easy to sort of pick up on this stuff. So oftentimes you'll see, usually like at a later stage in the movie, and it seems like some weird code language that they're talking to each other, you'll see numbers. You'll see numbers and letters written on things, very prominently displayed. And yeah, it makes you wonder, well, what is that number or letter combination, right? It serves no purpose in the scene. They don't mention it in the scene. And just the nature of filmmaking, right? You're composing all these shots, you know exactly what's in the frame. If you see a big giant G2 and it's not contributing to the scene, right? You would normally be like, dude, there's all this writing on the thing. It's really distracting away from the actors. Now I'm just looking at this big G2 instead of actually listening to what they're saying. So there must be something really important there as well. And that's, again, I guess I'm kind of glad we talked about that, the 88 symbolism that's happening today at the beginning, because I think this all ties into that directly, right? You don't have to understand what's happening to your mind to be affected by it. And I'm sorry if that's offensive to you in some way, right? We all want to think we're geniuses and understand how the world works, but you don't have to understand you're being manipulated to be manipulated. And it may even be on some next level shit with colors, symbols, numbers, and letters. It's going completely over your conscious mind and into the subconscious. And right, I couldn't tell you what G2 means. What is that? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's the seventh letter. So we got 72. There's probably a lot of symbolic meaning behind 72. And how is it related to the scene? How does it relate to all the other stuff? I think it's beyond our understanding. And oftentimes it won't just be the one number. Oftentimes these things come in combinations, right? So in the first scene, you see this G2. And then just moments later, you see the shot of this car. And again, it's just weird shit. This is not normally... I mean, I'm not in 2025. Maybe they changed the whole entire system of license plating, but this is not really how license plate works, unless this is like a vanity plate or something. I don't even think this is enough letters or too many letters, and there's like a weird space here, right? But we see MB9997. And honestly, I don't know that much about gematria and this whole deal to... Some stuff is really more obvious with the symbolism. This one has got me scratching my head a little bit. You got the G2 and then this MB9997. There's got to be something there. Makes me think of Mr. MBB333 if you know that guy. So maybe we should call him, see if he knows anything about the symbolism. But there's obviously something going on here, and it's so continuous. It's in so many different productions and so blatantly obvious. There has to be some sort of power here. There has to be something here. I refuse to admit that it's just random, because that's just not how movies work. They don't randomly put in all this information. Right? It dilutes the product. That's why right, if you were shooting a person, not with a gun, with a camera, if you were shooting a scene, you would, and you want us to focus on that person, I don't know, you do a close-up, or you make sure the background isn't too busy, that it doesn't have a bunch of like junk in it, so you can actually look at that person and realize what they're talking about. Well, maybe that's not even the focus in this scene. What if? I'm just talking hypotheticals here. So let's keep moving forward. More guns. And then they count down. They're counting down to the actual event. Okay, let's get up to the actual thing, right? And this is how we're always being shown these sort of control rooms, but this will be the new control room where the G is preparing your mind for this meltdown, and there will be some sort of like huge, I guess, control center to manage all this stuff. Somebody's got to be looking over this stuff. Interesting. Okay, so wait, I got a crispy. No, this is really interesting to me. I haven't experienced this before. I guess I'll just leave the keys, right? This is what I'm talking about, the hide strangeness. It seems like my voice is fine. You guys can hear my voice, but as soon as I hit these keys, you're getting that crispy, crunchy, and that's just, nobody wants to hear that. That's unfortunate. And I don't know why that's happening. It's never happened to me before, but that's just, I've learned to just accept reality. Weird shit is just going on nonstop, and I see it accelerating. It's going to get weirder. It's going to get weirder, people. So they turn on the signal, right? And it instantly gets in your brain. Your brain is all getting fogged because right as they turn on the signal, they were doing crimes, as they were not supposed to do. And right, this channels all of your like feelings about doing a heist and heist movies. That's generally seen as like a good, cool thing. And that's what they do. They get in here. And this is just so funny. I don't know. It's all very hilarious to me. The API zones, and they got these, right? It's all over the country. Well, I guess these are much more powerful than towers, because those you need all over the place. You got to get those almost everywhere on every single street corner. But I guess the API technology is maybe a little better. They only need one for California. So it must be pretty powerful, actually. But then what do? They hack in there. They figure it out. Ooh, API system compromised. And I guess they're in Michigan, and they figure out a way to stop the signal from going live where they are, and they can continue doing crimes. So they just crime it up. They're just criming it up nonstop. And just the crime feels so good, right? That's what they're getting. I don't even care about the details. They go to like some cash processing facility. They're going to get the new cash, and then the old cash is that it's going to get it burned, but it's still valuable. So they got to steal the old and the new cash and get a whole bunch of money. And you're right, just typical sort of heist movie nonsense. And they succeed. They get that cash. They got that cash. And here's just a lovely image of this guy's face getting blown off. A lot of imagery. A lot of violent imagery in this movie. I don't really need to show you all of it. I think this frame sort of sums it up here. And look how cool he is. He's got the glasses. He's on drugs. He's got a shotgun to the face. Everything that you would previously think is cool, right? But that's just the nature of the whole game here. Think something's cool, build something up as cool before, and then tear it down. That's how you're going to get people to change their minds. And just, right, it really, it doesn't matter what frame I pull up here. Here's just a little quote. I don't even know who this character is. It's full of contradictions, right? He's laughing. He's not afraid, but he really is afraid. They're going to kill this guy in a little bit. I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. Smoke weed. Don't smoke weed. Shoot people. Don't shoot people. And just all of the men are just, they're doing all this horribly misogynistic stuff that we've been trained now for years at this point to not accept, to not appreciate, and to be repulsed by, right? He's using this word that is not good to use. It's not good to use, right? And they're sort of joking, we're gonna go have sex with women, and they may not actually want to, but we're gonna do it anyways. Right? That's a recipe to get you to hate them at this point. And that's just how the whole thing works. They play these ideas off of each other. Oh, well, this thing is not good to do now. You don't do this at all. And then they have characters in the movie do that thing. And then you don't feel that bad when that character gets shot or blown up. And I'm pretty sure the FBI guy that is objectifying women gets murdered. And you are totally fine with it because you think, oh, well, that guy objectified women, so he definitely deserves to die. No question. And yeah, that happens in every movie, basically. But it's, again, very, very, very heavy-handed in this freaking movie. All right, come on, let's push through to the end. We just got a couple more frames here. I told myself when I started this that this particular podcast can in no way be longer than the actual movie. That would defeat the purpose. So we get towards the end of the movie. Dude is consistently just getting shot and blown up and hurt a lot, but he just continues to do this sort of deadpan. He really doesn't have many lines in this movie. He just looks hurt and serious. And she also gets pretty hurt, the main lady. And yeah, I mean, really, we are coming up to the end of it here. It sort of devolves from there. Some of these guys get away. Some of them get shot. They put all the cash in this semi, and they drive the semi away. And just to get briefly sidetracked here with color theory yet again, I've been looking into color correction and that kind of stuff a lot. It's if you want every single frame in your movie to have red and blue, it is not really the painstaking process that I may have made it out to be in the past. You can really just with a series of clicks in the right software just make that happen. This light didn't even need to be red in reality. This light could actually be white or any other color, but with the current technology, it is incredibly easy and fast to alter this to be red, to pop out like that. And that's it's a core part of post-production to make up the film look like it's all part of the same movie. But just like with the numbers, just like with the statements, everything that's washing over you, it has a power. It's got a very powerful power. And right, this movie is all about America, and so it is no surprise to me that the color scheme for this movie is, again, red, white, and blue. You got the red, white, and the blue, just like on the flag. And you're like, no, you're just making that up, bro. You're just all paranoid. Wait a second. Wait, so here's like a skyline. This is probably like stock footage that they didn't even shoot, that they bought for this production. And, this is weird. That's just, right? And everything else in the frame, everything else has this other sort of tint to it. And you look up and it's right in the center of the frame. Oh, there's that red, the white, and the blue, the tower. It's just staring you in the face. But, yeah, no, I'm probably just reading too much into it. So, right, they get the semi full of the cash. Okay, here we are. Almost done. And right, I really just scratched the surface. I could go on probably for another hour about this nonsense because the symbols are everywhere, right? New order, pre-crime in America, all of this stuff. It's all there. The red, the white, and the blue. It's all reinforcing. And I think that's why these numbers and colors and all this stuff is so important, because you can make a movie this bad. It really is bad. It's almost nearly unwatchable, but it still is very popular, right? How do you jive that? Well, is it that the script was so good and the act? No, none of that. None of that was good. But it's still at the top of the charts right now on Netflix, right? I didn't just dig this movie out. This is like number 3 or 4 on Netflix right now. So how could this horrible movie float to the top like this? And I don't think we fully untangled it, but I think it has a lot to do with what we're talking about here on this episode. So, okay. We were worried for a second there, right, that these loser, bad, horrible men, misogynistic monsters were gonna somehow come out on top. But, right, our fears were solved. They all died, right? He was able to drive her across the border to Canada, and then quickly died afterwards because while he was a dick, he did have legitimate feelings for our hero, right? Who turns out to be this lady who knew the whole time it was actually the woman. But right, you get to the end of the movie and you're not surprised because you cannot produce a high budget movie these days where the protagonist is not a powerful woman. It's not negotiable. Right? So no surprise, she comes out on top, she steals all the money, covered in symbolism, got the stars, she's got the red, white, and the blue just in and of herself. There's the blue in the background. And yeah, she makes it to Canada somehow. I don't know. She gets over the border. They're chasing them like crazy. And once she gets over the border, it's chill. They stop chasing her. And she just, gets off the semi. She's got a bunch of cash in her bag. I guess she didn't need all of the millions, just a little startup money. And then it cuts to this next frame where she's like, I don't know, chilling on this lake. Like, and again, I guess this is the sort of final symbol that we'll wrap this up with, right? Okay, so the whole movie we're talking about, red, white, and the blue, there's red America, and America should get torn down and broken, and it's broken, it's all broken. Okay, so she's got this jacket, obviously got the red, the white, and the blue, but this was very interesting to me, right? Again, we got the number symbolism, the 69, obviously has some sexual connotations that you should be aware of, but this number has other much sort of deeper symbolic meaning. I think that's why they, again, seeded it into the culture to make you think it's not important or to trivialize it. Reversals, constant reversals. But it represents that Vesica Pisces and a bunch of other sort of much deeper ancient symbolism. It's not just something to snicker at. This is a really hyper important number, and I think it's the age of Aquarius, all that kind of stuff. So at least as far as I could tell, right? You got the colors, the symbols, but we have the eagle, which I guess would be America, and then you have the 69, the Vesica Pisces, the age of Aquarius, this new order that we're moving towards, away from police, away from the old systems, those old archaic broken systems that we've been forced to live with for too long, because now technology is going to come and fix all this, and that is the Vesica Pisces, the 69, the age of Aquarius, over the top of it. That's the question. That's the question. Do you see what I see? Am I imagining it? Am I imagining it? Damn. And well, see, I'm gonna. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, that's on me. That's on me again. My system can usually hold out for at least an hour, but has been extremely finicky this time. And I must apologize. I apologize again for any technical difficulties. Yeah, no, thanks for sticking with me, everybody. I know that can be frustrating, the technical difficulties, and I mean, it's definitely my fault. I should probably simplify my setup, get more hard-lined on this stuff. I use a lot of software to run all this, but that's also just part of the research of this channel. What kind of bizarre strangeness will happen to my digital setup over time? It's right now that we talked about what we were supposed to talk about, let's talk about what we were not supposed to talk about. I have this weird thing that happens, right? Because I'm constantly working on computers, connecting computers, building larger systems, right? As I sit here in front of you, there are 3 separate computer systems that I'm using to run this show, and they're all sort of interconnected. The audio is feeding from one to the next, and then that audio is being connected and delivered into the next system, right? And so there's just a lot of digital things going on. And here's where I might lose you for a second, right? So I've noticed that when I am really cooking on it, right? When I'm making all 3 of these computers do a lot of work, right? Having a large music session or running this video, editing the video, and running the other computer at the same time, and then maybe thinking about something aggressively or having a strong emotion, the computers will start to get overloaded. I'll get these overdrive signals, right? And I try not to be paranoid about stuff, but I've been studying it, trying to stay objective about it. And I've realized when these computers are running full steam and I really try to fire up my consciousness, get a powerful thought, that these things can be interrelated, right? That if I try to drive my mind too hard, that the computers will break down, right? And I know what I'm saying is like absolutely pure insanity. Most people, upon hearing this, will never talk to me again and think I'm just insane, right? Completely disregard the rest of my existence for saying something like this. But nevertheless, I can't shake the feeling. Yeah, and I think I have talked about it before too. And I think the show was another pretty good example. There's a lot going on, at least for me right now. But I still really wanted to get this show out to you guys. I wanted to talk about this episode because I think it's hyper relevant, at least in this moment. And that's just the nature of entertainment and our reality. You are not being encouraged to analyze and think about it and remember things. You're being encouraged to have it pass over you. And so that's why I like to get in there before I forget how the movie went and before the moment is past, right? Because all of this police, all this kind of stuff is boiling up at the moment. But we got through it, and right, my core people here, Kim Adams, Travelers Guild. I sincerely just crazy appreciate you guys. It means a lot to have your attention and to have you with me on this journey here as basically the entire world is getting pulled apart one relationship at a time. So I'm just glad you're here. You're with me, and right now's good. Just 777s. If you're here, if you're enjoying what's going on, I'd love to hear from you. Everybody that's reached out, sent me an email, written a comment. It pushes us forward. It pushes us in the opposite direction of everything that I'm talking about on this show. And that's why I encourage it heavily. And yes, Kim, I am going to keep going. Because that's just how we roll here. I do have a project coming up, though. I'm going to be, I'll see what I can do in the next couple weeks. But as always, live your life, but do it consciously, as consciously as you can. That's I guess all I got left for you. Be conscious.